Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning and welcome live from Austin, Texas. It's Winning on Wednesday. We are here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central for your viewing pleasure. Just me and my good buddy, Mr. Joseph Kampert. It's Joe's birthday today, by the way. So drop it in the comments. Wish him a happy birthday. And also make sure you click the little button up in the description above that allows Facebook to view your StreamYard comments because we don't like anonymous posters. We want to know who's talking to us, especially if you're talking trash.
Yeah, because we have a bunch of trash talk going on this show. If it's your first time tuning in, basically this show is to shit talk each other. No, it is all about winning on Wednesday. I am excited for today's show. How are you, Mr. Merwin? Good to see you as always. Thank you to everybody that's wishing me a happy birthday in the comments. It's pretty crazy to think about. Grace just put it in here. It's 29, right? And it's like
29. Who the hell is 29 anymore? Grow up already.
That's a kind of, it's like, I feel like I'm kind of getting there, but I still feel like the young buck, you know, where everybody's like, shut up, dude, you're 29, like, get the hell out of here, right? I don't think you're necessarily allowed to complain or talk about age until you're at least like 35, maybe 40. So, but thank you to everybody.
Qualified then.
I guess. No, I wasn't trying to date you, man. But no, that's probably my weekly win. And so you guys obviously can see it is the family edition. It's the birthday bash. My brother is in town. He got in last night at like midnight and is working out of the office all week. And he is here on the podcast. So it's my birthday today. And then his birthday is on Friday. So we're getting to celebrate those together. We have literally, I think, and again, that's my win, is that probably, I think there's been 2 birthdays, maybe 3 birthdays that we've never not celebrated together ever in our life. So it's cool that he's in town. We're going to have a blast. As Hanky put in our team's chat, he goes, here's to rescheduled Zooms and lots of Coors Light. And I was like, well, let's not say that in the group chats. I said, but it might happen. I don't know. I rescheduled a Zoom on you. Right. I just threw myself under the bus. But no, that's definitely my weekly win. Doing really good, man. Just excited to have the show.
Your weekly win is your birthday? You didn't have
weekly
to do
win
anything
is my
to
brother,
accomplish that.
My brother being in town is the weekly win.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can appreciate that. And we're certainly glad to have him in the office here at Syndicate HQ. So definitely excited.
Well, you have a weekly win? What you got?
Yes, I do have a weekly win. Mine is a soon-to-be announcement. I do this a lot. But we're going to be rolling out a referral program with here at Go Ovula, where agents like you, maybe like you, that don't want to do anything in the Medicare space, but you want to find a way to make some money in the Medicare space. We got a referral program that we're going to be launching here pretty soon. We're actually launching it at Invictus at the conference coming up July 12th, but you'll see it roll out in the syndicate as well. And this will give you an opportunity to make $100 an app just by referring business to us. So pretty simple program. Stay tuned for the details. You'll see it coming out in July.
Right on. I love that, dude. And Invictus, guys, shout out to Invictus again, invictusconference.com. Make sure and go check that out. Get your tickets. That or just literally book your room at the Omni and the tickets will come with it. You'll be seeing me there. You'll be seeing a bunch of other people there, a bunch of powerhouses. But again, it is the first ever Spanish event in the industry. Okay. And that's it. At the Omni in San Antonio next month. Coming up here pretty quick. Literally like
about 3
weeks away. Yeah. So I'm super excited for that. Also, too, for anybody, I am running a workshop after this show, too. with Victor Gonzalez. So if you haven't checked it out, I'm going to be doing a training specifically on how we started basically a retail property and casualty shop from scratch. So if you're interested in catching that, go check out the Insurance Growth Workshops. That is his Facebook group where I'll be doing that here in an hour after this show. So got an action-packed birthday, man. I'm excited.
Let's go.
Yeah. And with that being said, so I think, having Sam on the show, and I'll go ahead and I'll bring him on real quick. Everybody give a nice warm welcome to my brother, Mr. Sam Kampert. What's going on, my man?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, man. No, I'm super excited to have you on because I think, and shout out to kind of Victoria Cabrera. She's who kind of really kickstarted me and just thinking about really, again, the digital marketing side of things and just really what we'll call your digital presence. And so your digital presence, where what Sam does and how he kind of codes and does everything on the back end, right? And this is going to be a lot of Q&A. So if you guys do have any questions when it comes to websites, when it comes to even maybe having a compliant website, which is a huge thing these days, but even AI, right? And so my brother's got some cool things he's going to kind of share with us towards the end, just how he's utilizing AI to really help build websites. And I think that would be very valuable to somebody who doesn't know how to build a website, but really wants to do something with their website. That's kind of the trend. And Sam, you can probably touch on this, is that, AI is not going to replace, it's not your enemy, right? But it won't replace you. But if you're not using it, then you will get lost in the dust, right? Or
Exactly right. Yeah, we just, my company that I work at, Thought Process Interactive, we, I guess it was probably maybe a month ago, we did a SWOT analysis actually of our business. We're all remote, but we rented out a little space and did a SWOT analysis. And one of the big things we talked about was looking at AI, and it was in both columns. So it was both like an opportunity, and a threat. So it really depends on, if you're not leveraging it, you're probably not going to be competing, at least at the higher level, as much as other people are. So it's how do we leverage this to help us? And also how do we keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't take our jobs? So
right.
Stuff like that.
What is a SWOT analysis?
It's with an O, right? Isn't that?
Yes. Yeah. It's a SWOT analysis is, it's basically like a little grid. You have your columns and you have strengths and weaknesses and threats and opportunities. And so it's just analysis kind of your business. And so it's pretty cool. I'd actually never done that with the company that I work for. I'd done it in school and stuff. But I was like, hey, I know what this is. And so they asked their employees hey, what do you guys think? And so we had, basically a full day of us just going over, where can we be better? Where can we improve? So yeah, we talked a lot about AI, and that's when it came up, some of these extensions and these different things that we can use to kind of leverage to help us make faster and better code.
Right. Well, real quick, before we start kind of getting into everything, just kind of give us a 30,000 foot overview of who's Sam Kampert, and then a weekly win for you.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Sam. I'm living in St. Louis. I am a web developer, back-end developer, kind of specifically now, but I've been building WordPress sites kind of leading up to this past year for the past 6-7 years. And so now certainly kind of transitioning this past year more into a little bit more heavy back-end development. But I still, even at my current company, when people have issues with WordPress, they send it over to me because I can normally kind of knock out troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff really quickly. I'm also a lacrosse coach, as well as a lacrosse player. So lacrosse is a massive part of my life. I'm blessed to be able to coach it and still play it. Yeah, and that fills up a lot of my time, and I love doing it.
A little different.
Are you coaching yourself while you're playing?
I am. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm the hardest on myself. I'm like, God, that was crap, man. Come on,
get it together.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm my hardest critic for sure. Because I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not doing it. It's come on, legs.
Well, maybe it is. It's the age thing, right? It's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
It's not. I ain't running around like I was when I was 21.
Right. So this is a good lead into my weekly win. So I've been struggling physically, talking about age, been struggling with some injuries in my ankle and some different stuff with some Achilles tendonitis and bursitis. And I've been really focusing the past 3 weeks on doing stretches and just being really proactive in kind of improving my flexibility and stuff in that area. And this past weekend I had a lacrosse game that I played in, and it was my first game in probably a month or two that I was able to play without pain. So all of that work and that focus, increasing flexibility in those areas, is actually really paying off. So that's been kind of my big win, is being pain free while being able to play that sport I love. So
Good, man. I love that, dude. Well, then let's start there. And maybe let's start in college, right? Because I think,
Yep.
one thing that you don't know, I don't know if you necessarily highlight a lot of it, is that, what was it? How many people started in your major, and then you were one of 4 that actually graduated with a computer science
Yeah,
degree?
it was
So let's kind of start there and then walk us through that.
Sure. So I got recruited to play lacrosse at a small liberal arts college. And so I ended up going there, was a part of the first year of lacrosse there. And it was a liberal arts school. So that means, computer science wise, they didn't have a massive program. But I think when we started out that freshman year, I think there was 40 kids. And then by the end of it, there were 10 guys that we took all the same classes together. Ended up being a really great experience. Got a lot of like one-on-one time with teachers and all this stuff. But it was a great experience. Played lacrosse the whole time through. Just had a really great time. And learned a lot about computer science and business while I was there, and was able to do some traveling and love Hanover. It did a lot of things for me. And so, yeah.
Yeah, right on. And then, so from that, so with that transition kind of to St. Louis, because it's funny, because how you really, main reason I started, well, not main reason, but how I kind of got started in insurance too was, hey, Sam's moving to St. Louis. He just graduated college. I'm like, well, if he's going to be there, I might as well go and just try this whole internship thing. I know I'm going back to school, and then obviously ended up staying in St. Louis to kind of kick things off at insurance. And so kind of, well, what was it before? Kind of share some of the jobs that have led up to what you're doing now. Because I know you've had a few different kind of positions, but then obviously JWeb, you spent the most time. But what was it kind of leading up to that?
Yeah, so my first job out of college was actually writing, really copy proofing spam emails to banks, or from banks to clients. So I worked for like a CRM company that built a kind of CRM for all these banks to send out like mortgage notifications and all this kind of different stuff on their loans. And by the end of it, there wasn't a whole lot. They hired me to basically make sure that all the emails displayed similarly in all browsers and all clients, email clients, all that stuff. Ended up that really wasn't that much work. And so by the end of it, I was proofreading spam emails. It was kind of the only work they found for me to do, which was terrible. I hated that. So ended up leaving there and ended up working at JWeb, the next company, for 6-7 years. And they took a chance on me. I rolled into that interview and straight up told them, I have no idea how to do any of this, but I promise you I'll learn it in a month. And they're like, okay, what do you want to make? We'll start you out, 2 or 3 under. And if you prove you can, we'll bump you up to your ask. So, and they took that chance, and it ended up like just being an amazing, place to work and grow. And kind of within the past year or two, I kind of started to feel like I was kind of outgrowing that, and kind of wanted to look to challenge myself and push myself. So I got a new job this past December as a backend developer, more at like the previous company was a marketing and kind of digital media company as well as websites. The company I'm working at now is like technology, like that is their main source of income. That is what they do well. So we build, internal and external applications for businesses.
Got it.
So it's kind of expanding and taking a little bit step further beyond WordPress and just kind of a little bit more complicated development. So that's kind of what I'm doing these days, as well as freelancing and doing, friends and family WordPress sites and, whatever else I can kind of do on the side.
All right. Some insurance agents.
Some insurance agents, right? Some insurance agents.
It's like
Right.
you're friends with me. Your brother's with me, dude. So I'm gonna like be connecting you with insurance agents. I actually tagged you in like 2 yesterday, so you might be seeing those forms come through.
All right.
But no, going back to what Aaron said, I think there's a lot that you can take from that. Remove the industry, right? She loved that confidence, right? Where it's, hey man, I don't know any of this crap, but I promise you, I will learn it, right? And I will figure it out. And just, will you give me a shot? And I think a lot of people are kind of scared to ask that, right? Where it's more of they want to come in and fake it till they make it. And then it's like, well, you're getting fired in a month because you don't actually know what you're doing, but you said you did, right? And I think there's something to that, where it's like that transparency and honesty that ended up paying off. It's kind of funny. It even goes back to some of the most simplistic shit where I'm like, when you join a Facebook group, don't tell them you're a truck driver if you're not a truck driver. Tell them you're an insurance person that wants to help a truck driver. Right? You get isolated very quickly when you can't talk the CDL talk, or they're talking about all this stuff with trucking. No, it's funny, but I think there's a good point in that, right? Where it's, hey, and sometimes you got to take the leap. Take that leap of faith. We were talking about that even in church this past weekend too. Was, it's without that leap of faith, without that action. And Tony, you were talking about it yesterday on your Tuesday training call, which was freaking awesome show. If you guys have not checked that out, make sure and go recap that with Walter, because that was freaking awesome. But it was like without the action, there's nothing there, right? You've got to have that leap of faith to really kick things off. And I loved Walter's story with that. And I know, Tony, obviously you've probably had a lot of moments like that in your career as well. And maybe going through it right now.
I mean,
yeah.
I remember I was a toddler, probably 3 years old, and my dad threw me in the swimming pool just so he could teach himself CPR. It's terrible.
I knew you were going there.
But hey, I have a question for Sam. Let's just kick this off. So you're just, for example, you're talking to me. I have limited technical knowledge. I'm not going to speak for everybody that's in our group watching this video, but let's just pretend that we all have limited technical knowledge. How would you describe the role of AI when it comes to web development and coding?
Yeah. So currently, I think like the implementations of AI are still like kind of coming about, and how it's like best able to do that. The one that I'm using currently that seemed to be the most useful is a extension for VS Code, which is like a code editor that I use. But it's a GitHub product. And GitHub is a website that has repositories of lots of different code and all this kind of stuff. But basically the way the extension works, you install in your code editor and you tell it like, okay, I trust this workspace I'm working in. Once it does that, it can basically reads all kind of the code that you have going on in the files you have open, and then compares it to code repositories that it also has. And then the AI then makes suggestions to you and helps you to basically like autocomplete code. And I was even showing Tony a picture of this earlier. It's insane, man. I mean, it predicts exactly what you're trying to do, and it's fairly accurate. Again, it's not perfect. Like I can't just use the code as is. But if it automatically suggests like 50 lines of code for me, that gets me like 80% of the way there. And then, you still have to like know what you're looking at to know like, okay, well, oh, that's not right. Like I probably want to change it to do it this way. So it's not a complete like, developer. You can't just like bring in AI and like make your whole website. Right. But it definitely is making certain monotonous tasks much more efficient. So, and that's how we've been trying to leverage that. What's that?
What are some of the inaccuracies that you notice in it? Like when it rips out 50 lines of code and you're like, I wouldn't do it that way. Like what are some examples of some of those little details?
Just certain like methods, things specific to WordPress that are probably just my own like ways that I like to do things. But sometimes, it's predicting what you're trying to do. So sometimes it's a little too aggressive, or just predicts you're trying to do the wrong thing. So it's not, most of the time, if it suggests it and like, you're like, oh, this looks pretty good, you can use most of it, but sometimes those suggestions aren't even correct in the first place. And I think what I've noticed is it's really good at creating new code, and it's not very good at kind of like, if you're going in and editing current code that's there and trying to kind of supplement or put new things in. If you're building from scratch, like I can type out a comment, like this function will do this. And then I type out like the name of the function, and then it'll make code that it thinks that I'm trying to do. And so again, sometimes it is scarily accurate. So,
yeah. Well, you talk about, you said, and this is, I think is super important too, is implementation. The implementations of AI are still, again, they're kind of just rolling out. They're just rolling out, right? Like I feel like there's so many different, we'll call it AI tools, right? Or extensions, like whatever you want to call it, that are out there now where, okay, so for somebody like just as somebody who works with AI and is using something like that pretty much on a daily basis at this point, and probably like half the day at least, right? Or you might always have it open, kind of like how I have Facebook open. You've got that open to help with the code and stuff. Where should agents, and again, maybe insurance specific, maybe not, what are your thoughts of where you should actually be implementing AI? Like what are things that you think it could really do for an agent or for just a business person? Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, for the more like kind of average person, there's so many tools out there now to like kind of automate some of these tasks that maybe require more expertise, like the video editing and even just video creation. And even like Tony, we were talking about just kind of generating some content around some marketing stuff. And, the biggest thing I've been seeing is that like they have these Google Chrome or browser extensions that you can use to like we tried to use one at my company it was a little. It wasn't super accurate, but it was an AI thing that would basically join. I think Joe, you actually might use it. It joins your team meetings, and then actually transcripts your entire meeting for you.
We used Firefly. Yeah.
Firefly.
Yep.
Which we used that for a little bit. It was like, it was kind of fun, but it's like, we probably don't need to be transcripting all of our, stand-up meetings in the morning, but, but like things like that, just automating some of those tasks. And even, like generating videos and making content, I think it can really help you to, like, again, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to do some of the work for you to make you more efficient, so you can really focus on like the quality of content instead of like, I need this many words just to like fill up space, or I need this many images just to make my social media posts, that kind of thing.
And that's what scares me about AI, because we have so many lazy people that think AI is just going to do their job for them, right? Tony, I'm sure you're probably seeing it. I know that I'm seeing it in the forums where these people are like...
You're not lying, because I have ChatGPT open right now helping me write questions that I can ask Sam. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to ask him.
It's like this. It's like next level, right? Yeah, true. It's like, I don't know half of what this guy's talking about. But no, I think...
Sorry, just a quick... have you guys heard of Bard?
Yep.
Yeah,
so I have Bard subscription
version of ChatGPT.
Yeah, I've used it a little bit. So far, I like ChatGPT better. Okay. Bard, and this was my personal experience, and I've only used it a little bit, but my experience on Bard was, it was, at least for me, and maybe it was just the prompt that I threw in there, but it came across a little too formal.
Interesting.
And I wasn't satisfied with the way it was. Well, technically, I told it to write 300 words, and it gave me bullets. I'm like, well, that's not what I asked for, first of all. So then I asked it to expand, and it just gave me more bullets. I'm like, no. So it could be me as the prompt engineer, but I'm pretty good at getting the conversation going with ChatGPT. Right. And I was actually at a conference a week and a half or so ago, and one of the guys that was talking about what you need to learn to become a good prompt engineer. And there's kind of a format, almost just like how you build a sentence in grammar, right? Okay. Subject, verb, object. It's the same kind of thing. Like, act like Joe Rogan, write 10 questions that you would ask a coder on AI.
In this voice to this audience.
Correct. Yeah. So if you can learn to do that, and then it's just, how do you open your mind to how big of questions can you ask it? And at first, when I started fooling around with it, I was thinking short term, like, oh, just write me a 300-word blog article on Medicare Part A, something like that. And then I would go and I would tweak that and use it for web material, email material, whatever. And then the speaker that was on stage, Eric Fierro, a buddy of mine, said, no, you got to think bigger. Like, write a 12-week email series in the style of Grant Cardone, teaching people about Medicare with a call to action to fill out the form at the end of it, something like that.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's much smarter.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's right. Well, and that's what you're finding with this, man. It's like the capabilities are endless. It's more of, okay, but what are you putting in there, right? And for me, I wouldn't think that far either, right? It would take somebody to think to really word it. But why do you bring up Bard, Sam? What are you guys using it for? What do you like about it?
For art.
For art?
I said Bard, whatever
Bard.
You said.
Oh, no, I just wanted to mention it. I haven't used it as much as ChatGPT. I just started taking a look at it this past week. The only benefit I saw from it is that it's pulling from more recent data. So ChatGPT, I think, stops at 2021 as far as like its access to internet data, where I think Bard actually has access to like the live internet and more recent data. Again, that might be why it's not as good, because it's not as limited. So it's like maybe not. And I think I've had a very kind of similar experience, Tony, where it wasn't perfect. And ChatGPT has seemed to be a little more accurate just right out of the bat.
So you're saying Bard is only looking at recent, current stuff? It's not going back?
It is looking back. It just goes
also has all the way to whatever the most recent article is.
ChatGPT stops at 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, Bard goes all the way to like current.
Which makes sense since it's owned by Google.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, but I'm not really using Bard. I use ChatGPT. I've basically used it as instead of using Google now. So I basically set up, like, I have a couple different chats, and I have a couple different frameworks that I work in. Like, one of them is Laravel. So I have like a container whatever ChatGPT that I've made. I'm like, you're a Laravel developer, like you are writing for engineers, all this stuff. And instead of like typing it into Google, I'll just type it into ChatGPT, like, hey, how do I, display this and clear the cache, or, whatever I got to do for that particular project. And typically it gives me really detailed answers, and I don't have to sift through Stack Overflow for, 10, 15 minutes to try to find a good answer. It like just gives it to me. So I think using it instead of Google when you're looking up things or just trying to, find information, which again, as a developer, I'm doing all the time.
Right.
So that's really been my main use of Chat GPT in that way.
Okay. I like it. So how about let's because we're getting real into the weeds, and I know some people are probably like, what in the hell are these guys talking about? But this is great because honestly, if you don't know, that's kind of why we're having the show, guys, is that you need to know, right? Or at least start educating yourself. But let's kind of I think because it'll circle back to the AI piece of this. But I want to kind of go to websites. Speaking of something that maybe you could type into Chat GPT and maybe somebody has, like, how do you build a decent looking website, right? And so maybe let's kind of go back to the basics, right? Because I think you got to have the foundation and the basics in order to even really kind of start leveraging some of these tools, right? To again revamp it, to clean it up, to make it look better, to expand it, right? To put out more blogs and more content. You got to at least have the damn main domain and stuff like that. Let's kind of talk about that, Sam. So and guys, if you have any questions about websites, if you have any questions about your website or anything like that, feel free to put that in the comments. Also, whatever AI tool you're using, put that in the comments too, because I know there's people that are using different ones. I know ChatGPT is obviously a big one. You guys have heard me talk a lot about my video.ai. So that one we use for the content editing. If you're using any type of AI tool, put that in the comments, because I think that would be beneficial to our listeners as well. But kind of back to that, Sam, was hey, I'm a brand new, or maybe I'm not brand new. I don't have a new website, or I am looking, mine's just the cheap one that I got, and it just kind of sits there just to say I have a website. Right. What are some things that agents need to be doing to basically have that basic but solid foundation of a website? We'll call it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the main point, like the first point, we have to have is like our digital presence, right? And that's the website, and that's also your social medias and everything else. And so it's basically, the ability for people to find you on the internet. So that's like step one, how do we get you in front? And so having a good website, having a fast website, all those things that can actually get you showing up in search results, all that kind of stuff that gets you there, right? But then once we have the website, obviously, when they get there, does it look good? Does it actually work? Does it work on their phone? Because, I think last I looked, which was like years ago, it was like 60%, of users were accessing websites via their phones. I'm sure it's even higher now.
Way higher. 95, something like 95, 96% of the people that engage with my content for Avila are all doing it on their smartphone.
Wow. Yeah. So that totally makes sense. So that's where everything's been going. So making sure, I think a lot of people, think about their website and look at it the way they do. Like they get on their laptop, they look at it. Well, is your audience actually using it that way? Are they viewing it? Or, I think a lot of times it's hard for some of my clients to kind of see things outside of their perspective. Because normally your audience is very different than you, and is going to use your website a lot differently than you're going to kind of peruse it. So just, kind of keeping that in mind and trying to make things easier for them, and always you want to have a goal, right? So, if you're just a starting out agency, maybe we just want to get a call, or maybe we just, want them to land on that page, see us and sign up like a quick contact. Or maybe I'm more established, we've have Google ads running and I want to send them to a form where we're getting some high quality leads there. We can do all that stuff through a website. It just kind of depends on where your business is at and kind of what you need to do to kind of take that next step.
Sorry, couldn't tell if this was a question or not. I got you, Ryan. I'll hit you up. And so kind of then let's kind of go a little bit further in that, Sam, because I know we were talking backstage about it, but kind of once you get it all pretty and stuff like that, right? And maybe it's mobile and desktop friendly. Sure. Let's talk about, let's talk about that. How about the themes and stuff? Maybe kind of go through, hey, here are the themes that, somebody could build that are easier to build on when it comes to a WordPress site.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of themes out there. We've been kind of sticking to Flotsam for the past probably 2 years, something like that. It's a very nice little theme there. but there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of stuff to use. I think the important part is just finding something that you can edit all your content and feel confident that it looks good. It's tough when you have these websites that really only a developer can get in and make changes. So, as Joe and Tony, it's like, both your guys' sites, I don't like, I build it and then it's all you. Like, I want to at least give you the power to be able to do that.
Right.
So Flatsum is a really good theme for that. Has a really good little UX builder. But even without, Flatsum, there are a million plugins, that can help you to accomplish the exact same thing on whatever, if you have a current website, you can even overhaul it with, I think, Tony, on your old website, were you using, was it Divi or was it something else? Some sort of
Elementor?
builder. Yeah, Elementor. That's one of them too.
It's a big one.
So you can do a lot of cool stuff with just even plugins. But if you find a good theme, again, we've found one that we like. And so it's just super easy to build on and super easy to set up clients. And then they have so much access to change and update things, just giving them as much power as possible.
Right.
But again, you want to make sure you're spending money where you need to, not overdoing it. So
Does WordPress have an AI plugin for coding, or is there something else that you use to get in, like that Copilot tool you were showing me? Can you use that in your WordPress site?
So the way with Copilot, I'm sure it's pulling from some WordPress repositories. Like there's plugins and stuff on GitHub. So I'm sure it's pulling from some of that. I have other extensions installed. They're called IntelliSense, and basically it's like a formatting extension. So it's detecting my code and running it against WordPress documentation. So it'll tell me and do some autocomplete. So I have a million autocomplete, little extensions that'll typically tell me if I'm breaking something before I break it. So
that's useful.
Crazy. It's fucking ridiculous. The fact that you
one of
can
those
have
in
that
life.
many. I know that's not somebody give me an extension, man. I need some fucking corrections before I break shit. Well, and so let's kind of then let's shift a little bit. Let's stay a little bit more on just kind of the basics of the websites, but then let's talk about the compliance piece. I think that's the big thing. Again, you get it all pretty and all this. And actually, real quick too, I have to give you a shout out, Larry Buckaloo. If you're watching this, we were at, was it SWAT? I think we were at SWAT. And he had a speed, basically, hey, you plug in your website and it tells you how it's performing, right? And I was like, man, I'm not going to lie. I was like, I haven't looked at that for hours, in a minute, man. I couldn't tell you. I was like, well, screw it. Just run it. I want to see. And we were all almost, hitting hundreds on damn near everything. It was super crispy and clean. But it was funny because the ranking of the mobile, you could tell we were being used a lot more on that mobile side of things. But again, even with that desktop, mobile, you name it, however they're viewing it, let's talk a little bit about the compliance piece and how important that is, especially as an insurance agent. I know that now that you have that built into all your sites, just because, again, of the products. And guys, depending on the products that you're selling, you need to make sure that your site is compliant, especially when working in a space like Tony is in Medicare or in that life or health. I don't know if it necessarily applies the same as property and casualty, but I guess it would across the way. I don't know if it's just the general. I know it is for when you're working with older people, but kind of maybe touch a little bit on some of that compliance stuff.
Sure. Yeah. There's all these rules like the ACA compliance, right? And so they really talk about, it really comes down to, it just needs to be usable, right? Everything they're trying to get after is don't try to hide things. Don't make things user unfriendly. Everything has got to be usable. And especially when it comes to people with disabilities, which obviously for insurance, you might have some people that are going to be using your site as opposed to maybe other types of businesses. So it's really important that you kind of keep, again, we're trying to think of how people are going to use our website. We have to keep this audience in mind as well, right? So we have to make sure on Redwood, we have a couple little plugins that help add little toolbars to kind of increase contrast for people who have eyesight issues, as well as some auditory kind of playback things within that as well. And then again, just as your design, again, if you use a good theme, normally you're just going to be compliant automatically because they're going to be building the menus and stuff in a way that should be viewable, as opposed to maybe you building it yourself or something along those lines. Again, really it comes down to they need to be able to use it. You shouldn't be hiding buttons or doing weird stuff. There's a whole long list of stuff that I could get into that we did. What was that? The conference I came to you and did that whole presentation.
The Digital Frontier Conference?
Yeah, it's the different
Insurance
thing.
growth workshops.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I'm
So
literally doing
there's
today
a whole
too.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But we could totally get into the weeds of it. But ultimately, like, it really just comes down to like usability, and again, keeping our audience in mind. So we're thinking about all these different people that will, legally need to like be able to use the website. So just
Right.
keeping those people in mind and making sure that they have the access to get where they need to go.
Well, I definitely know for visually impaired folks, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
And there is a group of attorneys out there that 100% will go after your website or go after you and sue you if they find out, if they think you have money
Right.
and your site's not set up for visually impaired.
Right.
So, and that's something that you helped me get done with my website. So thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, of course. Again, not
That's
super
good.
hard if you're already building in good ways, like if you already have a good
Right.
theme, like good themes that are being updated recently, like they are complying and making, themes and code that adheres to all of those things pretty much already. But then
Right.
you add like a couple little plugins, like a Google Translate and something to help with the visually impaired, and you're normally pretty covered. But there are tools online. I was trying to find it. I can't seem to find it, but I'll put it in the chat when I do. There's even like little scanner tools online that you can go to and type in your website URL, and it'll give you a score on kind of how you're ranking. It's it's pretty aggressive, I think, from what I've seen. But it gives you like, oh, here are all the things that you could fix if you wanted to. Like, are they completely necessary? Are you going to get sued that you didn't have like the alt text on that one image? Probably not. But it points out all those things that you could be doing better. So yeah, I'll try to see if I can find that at least one of there are a couple different tools you can use, but I'll see if I can find one of those websites to shoot in the chat.
In there. I wanted to I'm just going to go ahead and I'll share off some of your work here, pal. All right. So I just kind of wanted to, I think we're kind of on this theme of plugins and extensions and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of show some of our plugins on the site. And so a lot of you guys know I talk a lot about how much everything is sourced from Facebook, but I do not do business. And whether that's on the recruiting side, whether that's on the client facing side or prospect side, excuse me, like you have to basically fill out a form, right? And that's just kind of our thing. It really, what we found is that it really increased our buyer intent. And you guys know that if buyer intent goes here, then obviously so do my close ratios, or well, hopefully your close ratios are following suit. But I kind of wanted to show just some of the plugins that really, honestly, in my opinion, kind of changed the game for us. And it's really our gravity forms. A lot of you guys have probably heard me talk about them, where you can kind of come in here and basically what I will do, and we have basically unique link IDs associated. So each of our producers has basically a web page, basically like this, to where, hey, they can come in and you can see, obviously we've got some videos here. If you guys want to watch if you guys want to watch some good content, go check out my YouTube channel. And this one is actually hilarious. I must've been hanging out with Pete Fournier a lot when I recorded this, because I started talking like a New Yorker in this, and I'll dunk all over the agent. I'm like, I don't know why I was talking like that. Really good content. But again, these gravity forms were a game changer for us, to where, again, any type of quote that you're wanting to get, whether that's auto, home, trucking, whatever that might be, basically we have a form for that, right? And again, it's called a gravity form. So typically, and I believe that can be plugged in on any WordPress site. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. It's very similar. You guys have probably heard of Jotform. You may be using Jotform. So it's very similar to that, but it's built into the website. And so here's how in my opinion, this is how you would go about really building a form. Go to your carriers, right? Because a lot of people just put up like, hey, just, fill out some basically contact info. To me, I don't really get the point. I get that, but that's more if you're doing maybe like a contest, or it's kind of more of a volume play. Like, I want that high intent. So I'm making people really fill stuff out, right? But okay, how do I create the form that's going to go to the carrier. Go to the carrier site, go to wherever you're quoting, get whatever. And for the most part, and I know it can differ whether you're in P&C, life and health, because obviously, on that life and health side, you got to be asked, they're going to have, prescriptions and disability, all that good stuff that you'll need to kind of capture. Might be difficult to capture all that on a form. Who knows? Maybe a drop down would work for that. But for us, really, again, this form, we went to the carrier. Hey, what all do they need, right? And then now you can see, obviously, I'm not going to go through and fill it all out. But all of this, anything that we're doing, we have basically a form built out for people to submit their information. We've got a little education. So you can see here, and this guy's Sam built out all of this for us, right? So you can see here, super clean. You can see here where you can toggle that high contrast. Here's your font size. And then even here at the top, you also have your languages. Okay, so you have that as well. That I think is sometimes people overlook that when it comes to compliance. But you name it, like literally we have basically a form, even, oh, look at that, custom website. So if you want a custom website, go fill this out. Sam will reach out to you. Super clean, man. I haven't even actually seen this page. I don't know if you edited that or not. But no, I just kind of wanted to, I wanted to spend some time in here because I think, really those plugins have been just so important for us in how we've been able to really, I would call it streamline our agency in our workflow, right? Because without that, and you guys know, a lot of y'all know that I'm in this group, I'm over here, and it's like I'm getting phone calls on my cell phone, I'm getting Facebook Messenger, I'm getting emails, I'm getting Teams, it was coming from all over the place, right? Where once we installed those forms, or really, I wouldn't say installed, implemented those forms, I mean, dude, it's like everything just flowed to one place. And I knew because of that unique link ID, what it was, who it was for, where it's coming from. And it gave me everything I need to actually do business with this person. And when somebody submits that, y'all, again, going back to the intent, they want to do business, right? So many people out there are like, oh, I just want some cheap car insurance, this, and this. Like, all right, take 30 seconds to fill out my form. And literally it does. I don't bullshit people. Like, it literally takes 30 seconds to fill this thing out, right? Like, you just need to know your name, date of birth, address, phone number, and the year, make, model of your vehicle. Don't even have to know the VIN number to submit this shit. And they don't. And I'm like, well, then were you really serious about finding cheaper car insurance, right? And that to me is, it does eliminate a lot of the people that you chase, right? And Adam, I'm calling you out just a little bit. Not really though, but you put a post out there in the group about how many times do you really chase, a client or a lead, or how often, like how many times should I really be following up with these people? And not to say that you shouldn't follow up, and that follow-up is going to be a part of those forms. Hey, just because I got the form doesn't mean it's sold, right? Now my intent's way higher, but that still doesn't mean it's sold. I'm still going to have to follow up. But I think when you are making them do that out the gate up front, it really does kind of change that experience to where I kind of feel a little bit, I hate to say it this way, but I kind of feel more in control versus them, right? I feel like I've got the proposals, I've sent everything, like I'm calling you submitted to do business with me. I'm not begging you for your business, if that makes sense. And I know that that's kind of deep on just the gravity form, but that really is, to me, what the gravity form has done for our business. And it's something as simple as a plugin like that. So real quick, let's see. To use Canopy. I was on Canopy. I'm actually looking to go back to them on the commercial side. And then also now that they're integrated with Easy Links, that's Canopy Connect. Guys, if you're on the PNC side, you need to be checking out Canopy Connect, especially with their Easy Links integration, because it's huge news. Would you look at a website and give overall feedback? You want to do that live right now, Ryan? Ryan, if you got that link, just drop it, man. We'll pull it up if you want us to. I love Ryan too, man. He is totally down to sit in the hot seat. But then let's kind of maybe, what are some other plugins maybe that you're familiar with, Sam, that you have used in the past when it comes to, again, WordPress sites, guys. And I guess, well, here, let's go back one more. Sorry, back to real basics. Where do they go get their domains? Where should they purchase like the hosting and those types of things, I guess?
Yeah. So typically, for my own personal stuff, I've purchased a lot of my domains through GoDaddy. You can purchase domains through a lot of different services. I've had a pretty good time at least buying domains from GoDaddy, but you can buy them from a couple different other places. I think the big thing, make sure don't use GoDaddy for hosting, because they will absolutely rake you over the coals. The domains are pretty standard and fairly cheap, but like the hosting stuff, like every little thing, like you want to add one more email address like into your thing, they're going to charge you for that. It's like, okay, I know what they're doing in the code wise. I'm like, why are they charging for that? So that's where they kind of make their money. So go somewhere else for hosting, like MDD hosting, I think is what we're currently using for Redwood.
Yeah.
I use HostGator for a couple of other my things. So really just kind of shopping it and looking for like good prices on that stuff. Because again, the services should be relatively similar. You can look and see exactly kind of what you're getting for the price. So just making sure you're not making, it's like, oh, well, it's all on GoDaddy. It's like, well, you paid, probably $100 or $200 more a month than you probably should have for some hosting junk. It's like, it's kind of how it goes. But
I didn't see this comment, but mind blown. After listening to your podcast, I went and downloaded an AI app. Wow. Wow, that fits with the show name too. This is honestly, I love this. This is the best way I think that we could wrap up this show. Is literally so Ryan dropped his website, and so we're gonna pull it up, Sam, and then honestly,
Let's go.
I'm gonna kind of shift in between the screens a little bit, so I'll be kind of back and forth. So I'm not staring at everybody really awkwardly. I'm looking at Ryan's website, but I'm in a different tab. So let's do this. Thank you, Ryan, for being willing to share and vulnerable, man. I love it. So England Insurance, Sam, you just tell me what you like scroll and all that good stuff. Obviously, you can see here's the accessibility menu. I
Fairly
did see this.
attractive
Obviously,
already.
you got a little.
Yeah, that didn't look too bad.
Give your honest opinions. Ryan
Sure.
ain't no. Hey, he can take it. So like, is
Sure.
there anything that you would potentially edit or change? Because he'll actually take action, like with what you would suggest. So
maybe one thing I would do would be potentially getting away from the like all aligned center stuff. There's a lot of research out there, and even I don't know if you guys have heard of heat maps, that basically it can track where a user's eyes go on a website. And the way it basically goes is it goes like left, like through like at the top, like left to right, and then goes like down the left side. And that's like basically it. So that's where like eyes will just naturally kind of want to go. So kind of having things with that, kind of designing with that in mind. Obviously, there will be elements and certain things you want to have fully centered. But as far as like readability, a lot of times having things more left centered and kind of building things in that kind of column layout tends to be a little more readable for users. So that's one little criticism, I guess. But it looks nice. It's a pretty good. It's not too bad looking site.
I like the colors and everything.
Yeah. I've seen a lot worse. Let me tell you that.
All right. That
one thing too, I might say. So, and this is just kind of a UI or just kind of a more modern design element. A lot of what you see just on current websites and websites that you just like, man, this looks nice. There's just so much more spacing in between everything. It's a lot more kind of relying on people to scroll a little bit and creating a lot of space in between. I think it has kind of come from maybe Google's UX and some kind of, you have user expectations. Users expect websites to kind of work like all other websites. It's kind of how they know where to go. Like, how do you know that the 3 lines at the top on your mobile phone, like, how do you know that's a menu? Well, you just know it because you've used it and done it so many times that you expect that to be that. And so that's what you try to kind of do for these users. But the look here, I would probably do like maybe a little more spacing in between those elements, just kind of spacing those out, giving our users' eyes like a little bit of break so they can kind of like go piece to piece instead of it all kind of being a little more jumbled together. It just, like I would probably separate, just a little more spacing in between those blue areas and just creating a little bit more visual space. And that's, again, just like a small nitpick.
When you say visual, so would visual, would that be something where you would want that to be kind of more just like blank space, or visual as in like maybe put like a picture of a family or a kid there or something like that?
No, I mean like just some empty space. That's just been kind of where the modern design trends have been going. And I think it draws attention to those areas a little bit more. So you're really kind of honing in on those areas instead of it all kind of like, you just kind of like scan it really fast. It kind of makes your eyes kind of stop a little more. And it's just something I've seen just in kind of the newer, huge website or for these larger companies where that's just kind of what they're doing is just a little bit more spaced out. And with the flat design, which you are using flat design, that's also like the new thing, right? 3D, like everything used to have shadows and gradients and all this junk. Now everything's like flat design. That's like the new thing, what you got going on, which is great.
I really like this chat. This chat thing won't freaking leave me alone, Ryan. My Lord, I don't want to chat with you. The guy's live on my show right now, okay? Jeez. I like this. Just clicking this in general.
But yeah, this actually is a pretty decent little website here. You got some decent landing pages. Looks like you have a lot of ways for people to kind of get to your content. And it looks like you have a lot of content too, which means hopefully you're ranking pretty high in Google for those things, but also you still have the user abilities that if they come to your website, they can naturally find it as opposed to going like directly from a Google search. So
here's your jot form, guys. So again, you guys can see it. It looks very similar to what my gravity form looked like in our website. I like it. Anything else to say?
No, not really. Again, this is a pretty good
clean
site. Like if I was, if I saw this, it'd be kind of a hard sell to be like, you need a new website. It's like, no, you probably need like a few little tweaks here and there. But yeah, that's really not too bad. Just making sure that again, we're thinking about the users, thinking about how they're going to use it. And again, think about heat maps and a couple of those other like random things that kind of
heat maps
cater that.
Okay. And that would be a good tool, I think, for anybody. So guys, go check that out. Heat maps, that kind of, and again, it's kind of more on the education side. And then really, again, once we kind of have this base, this foundation that you guys can see, obviously Ryan's got it. Kudos to you, Ryan. Who built your site, Ryan? Put that in the comments. I'm curious. I feel like I know who you used probably, but just curious on who did that. But again, once you have that foundation and kind of that base, is when you can really start playing with extensions, right? And these AI tools that are just, again, not slowing down. I feel like there's going to be some new freaking tools coming out like there is literally like every freaking week, or something's getting updated, or Chat GPT's got, it's going to be Chat GPT 10.0 here pretty soon. With all the updates.
You can have that AI running that chat that kept popping up. It's like, was that
right.
AI trying to talk to you, or was that a person? Like, could be AI just to start the conversation and then plug you into,
Yep. Or like a messenger bot. I think that's what it looked like to me, was a messenger bot, which I think, Tony, you've been playing with those.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, dope, man. Let's say real quick, Sam, kind of what's on, this is Tony's question. I'll go ahead and ask it because it's my birthday. So
I know what's on the horizon.
Yeah,
Friday is the lake and Coors Light.
Oh yeah, that is what's in the very near horizon. Is we're definitely having a party. It's going to be a good one out on the lake, and Ryan said he should hopefully have the yacht going too, so we'll be able to get out on the water.
Yeah.
But what's on the horizon for Sam Kampert? And then if anybody is interested, guys, Sam does obviously build these websites. He does have a full-time job, so it's not like he can take on like our 7,000 members at once. But if you're looking for really some assistance, he'll kind of share of how you can reach out, how you can touch base. Hey, guess what? We have a forum for it. There is a forum for it if you want to talk to my brother. But what's on the horizon for you, Sam? What you got cooking, man?
Yeah, sure, man. Just continuing to work, trying to, kind of grow my freelance business a little bit more. And just, continuing to work at TPI. I'm learning a lot at my new job that I started in December. So just continuing to try to get myself up. I got a couple of senior developers above me. So I'm just trying to learn and kind of bring myself to their level. So just kind of continuing to grow and staying hungry and trying to learn more, just not staying stagnant, kind of in my own learning. That's kind of what's kind of coming up. And obviously coaching and lacrosse nonstop. I'll be playing box lacrosse this year. I've got one more year in me. So I'll be playing on the semi-professional box lacrosse team out in St. Louis. We'll be traveling out to Colorado and a couple of different places. So
nice. Love Colorado.
Lacrosse and development, man. It's my whole life. Oh, and obviously I got a kid on the way. That might be.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Nice. I'm like, you want to talk about? You ain't gonna be stagnant for much longer.
I was like, only business. Yeah, my wife and I are expecting our first daughter in November, so we are super excited for that. Yeah, very very excited to be joining the girl dad group. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. So we're all just jazzed.
It's awesome, dude.
I have a bizarre question for you, Sam.
Sure.
Are you familiar with this whole Neuralink thing that Elon's working on?
I am not. Neuralink.
Okay.
I haven't heard about this.
Really?
No, I haven't. No.
It's basically the AI plug-in for your brain.
I was on the flight here and I was like, that's going to be the next thing is like, I'm going to think a thought and AI is going to like propose it in my head, but it's going to be like in a different voice. So I know it's the AI, not my own thoughts. That's hilarious. So he's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to look that up. Doing it. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that because I figured you were probably already in the know on it. So I was going to ask you, like, as soon as it comes out, are you signing up? Are you getting
I'm
the AI
really only
plug-in?
like I got a couple Instagram accounts and a couple like social media people that I follow that post a lot of AI tools that are very relevant to coding specifically.
Right.
But like AI as a whole, I'm not like doing all like learning a bunch of stuff about that. I'm like kind of focusing on my implementations and how I'm going to use it.
Right on.
Right.
But that
Love
sounds
it.
cool. I'll have to look that up.
It's crazy.
Oh,
We're all
I
going to
think
be cybernetic here pretty soon.
Right.
Well, but I think what you said there, Sam, we'll close out, y'all. But I know that is super important. It's kind of it's the shiny object. Don't use a bunch of AI that doesn't do shit for your business, right? Don't get caught up talking to like Chat GPT during work hours or whatever if it has nothing to do with your business. And I think that is super important because I feel like there's so many things out there. There's new ones coming out every week. There's updates. There's releases. There's people you can go follow. And if it doesn't apply to what like how you're actually driving revenue or how you're supporting your family or just what your goals are, like don't go out there and use it, right? Like find a tool that really works for you. And I don't know, maybe that's why I use video, and that's kind of, I have it exactly for what I need. Because otherwise, if I got anything else, man, I'd probably like just turn into a full AI guy. That's why I love marketing and all that, but it's a full-time job. But then it's like, once I get going, then it's like, oh shit, but it's like, hold on, like I still have 1,000 other things I got to do too. But I think that is a good point. Utilize it for what's going to actually help you.
We need to get an AI character on the show to interview.
Ooh, that would be crazy.
Interesting if we can figure that out, whether it's Chat GPT or some other tool that we can set up on camera.
Do like a recording or something.
Yeah. And with that said, thanks for tuning in for Winning on Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central for your viewing pleasure. Get excited. Wish Joe a happy birthday, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. And don't forget, it's only Wednesday. It's halfway through the week. You still got a couple more days.
Peak of the week.
Put the pedal down and let's go close out your business with a bang.
Come on, let's go. And use AI, right? And do that SWOT analysis. Find out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats. AI can be kind of in both those spaces, but then also really just do that SWOT analysis for y'all's business. And again, it is the peak of the week, right? So let's get after it. Let's keep crushing it. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of the week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sam, brother. Appreciate you, man, for hopping on. I know it's short notice, but it was a great show. I hope everybody got some value out of that. And again, if you guys have any questions or anything, you guys can hit up Sam. Obviously, he's my brother. If you are looking to talk with him about the website, just go to redwoodagencygroup.com. You'll see there on the contact us where you can hit the custom website. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Keep crushing it. Later, y'all.